All right, so I get to spend a few minutes with you about once a year. I always try to ask you minor league focused questions. So just specifically with that in mind, I'll get the today's news out of the way. I wanted to ask you about the Wilson trade. Obviously, a lot of people just would assess you from moves in the past, might describe you as always being or often being a step or two ahead. Now, if someone were to describe that in regards to today's news, perhaps you being a step or two ahead or thinking a step or two ahead, would you say that that's accurate?
Well, really, this was a move for a couple of reasons. We felt like with Michael Martinez developing at the big league level and the fact that Trent Galvis is pretty close, at the very least defensively ready to play at the big league level, we felt like we had enough depth there to cover us at short and in the utility infield positions. I think more than anything else, it also gives us a level of depth for left-handed pitching. I mean, we don't have a lot of it in our system. We have some guys in our camp this year that we're going to take a look at, but this just adds to that. Jeremy Horst is a guy that had some success last year at the AAA level, did play at the big league level for a brief time, did okay. And, he's a guy that's going to be thrown into the mix this year.
All right, sounds good. Specifically, I wanted to ask you about a guy that's in the building with us here tonight, Jesse Biddle. Had a great season for Lakewood last year. And, he kind of epitomizes homegrown talent, almost redefines homegrown talent, being from Philadelphia, having been a fan in the stands of the 2008 World Championship clinching game. Do you think his homegrownness kind of adds to the excitement level surrounding him as a prospect?
Well, I'm sure it does. I mean, I've lived it myself, so it's kind of neat. You just have to also be careful with the pressures that come along with it too, because when you play for your hometown team and you play that, there's something special about it. At the same time, you have to be aware, cognizant of some of the pressures that a player will put on themselves in that type of a situation. But he's a good kid. He's got a great head on his shoulders. He's a hard worker. I got nothing but superlatives for the young man, and he had his oats sown a little bit this year, and he got beat up at times, but he made some adjustments, and really, when we assess our players, it's more about the journey that they take, and I think he learned a lot from this year. I think he got a chance to mature and really finished up the season very, very well. We look forward to very, very positive things. Marty Wolver and Gene Shaw did a great job with him as far as the draft and signing is concerned, and we're pleased to have him. Hopefully, it continues to develop.
Absolutely. Now, much is made about some thoughts you shared with the media, maybe late last year or late in the season last year regarding Don Brown's readiness for upper levels or the next level. And just in regards to Dominic and maybe those thoughts specifically, has anything changed? And just what do you think the outlook is for Don Brown for this year and maybe the years to follow?
Yeah, no, we still view Dominic as one of our elite prospects. He's a guy that's going to, at some point, I know he's going to be an impactful guy for us at the major league level. Right now, if I had my druthers, I think that we'd probably like to have him go back and get adjusted to left field and get as many at bats as possible in AAA. But I mean, I've seen stranger things happen. He has ability, and you never know what he can do this spring. And clearly, he's a guy that we have great hopes for, and I think it's just a matter of time. And I think it's a matter of getting repetitions in the minor leagues. But as I said, I mean, things are, while we think that John Mayberry has kind of that left field job to lose, we're always open to competition, and so we'll see what happens this spring.
Certainly. Now, I also wanted to ask you about the bench a little bit, specifically maybe a need for the club right now off of the bench would be speed in your eyes or maybe other folks' minds. And with Dominic Brown competing for an outfield job, based on what you said there, there's another guy that the Phillies added to, the upper levels of the developmental system last year, named Scott Podsednik. I was just wondering your thoughts on Scott and if he stands any kind of shot at competing for a position on the bench.
Yeah, we have a couple of spots that are open there on the bench right now, and Scott's experience and his speed. He had a tough time health-wise last year with problems with his feet. I think he's over those right now. He's a guy that obviously with his experience and some of the success he's had as a major leaguer, you never know. He's gonna get an opportunity to be in camp this year. We're gonna take a good look at him, and there'll be some competition for some spots. We'll see how it goes.
Right. And we spoke last year, and you were talking about just the managerial prospects that the Phillies have. Aside from player prospects, there's also coaching prospects. And you were talking about how you hold certain guys in considerable regard. And with Mark Parent leaving the system to go and get a major league job in Chicago, can I get some thoughts from you on Dusty Wathan, Chris Struby, and Mickey Mordini each taking on new roles within the system, and then in addition to them, maybe your thoughts on Ryne Sandberg's future as a coach or manager?
Yeah, that is one thing that we're very, very proud of. I mean, having lost Mark Parent, that was a big blow to us. And I'm glad that he got an opportunity to go and be a bench coach with the Chicago White Sox. That's great credit to the people that hired him, and a great credit to him. At the same time, we are blessed with some outstanding managerial prospects, and Mickey Morandini will be here in Lakewood. Obviously, Dusty Wathan moving up to Double-A, who's earned that right to get there. Ryne Sandberg, I think he's kind of a manager, in waiting in Triple-A. At some point, he's going to be a big league manager, and it may also be true of the others. Andy Tracy, being able to add him to the mix. Real quality guy who's had a lot of experience, and Chris Truby, who's really, Chris is a very, very professional-minded, really knows and understands, and I think he worked very, very hard to do what he's supposed to, and that's try to develop his players and to teach them what it takes to be a Philadelphia Philly. We're very blessed with this group. I think it's going to be it's a strength in our organization, and as I've said before, there's no question that player development, scouting, player development are the backbone of our organization. We're pleased to have all these guys.
Absolutely. Now, I do have one last thing for you, and I really appreciate you taking the time here to talk about the minor leagues with me. I wanted to ask you about, there was a lot of excitement surrounding last year's draft class, specifically the top two guys, Larry Green Jr., Roman Quinn, of course, and those guys specifically, signed late and didn't really get into actual game action. Did spend some time down in instructional ball and spent some time late in the season with the Gulf Coast League team just working out. And then there were other guys within that draft class like Austin Wright who really excelled and did some big things. Just as an overview, maybe just your thoughts on last year's draft class.
We kind of an emphasis on shortstops and third basemen, so that was important. Roman Quinn, obviously a very, very good athlete. Got a chance to see him a little bit in the instructional league. Larry Green had a little bit of an injury issue. Didn't see him do a lot. Obviously, tremendous power, which is something that is very tough to find. But he's, I think Marty did a fine job of getting good athletic players in our system, and they're just kids. They're just starting off, but there's some athleticism there, and there's some areas that we probably could really need help on, specifically at third base, which is there's a shortage of talent in our system at that position, and at some point, guys like Chase Utley and Jimmy Rollins are going to have to be replaced. So it was important for us to concentrate on some of those infield positions to see if we can find those next couple of guys. But we have high hopes, obviously, for them, and looking forward to having Joe Jordan kind of manage their careers with the Phillies. Joe being the new player development director for us, with the help of Benny Looper and Mike Compton and all the folks in our player development department. We're looking forward to 2012 with the young talent that we have.
Ruben, that sounds great. Thanks again so much for taking the time. I really appreciate it.
No problem.